In today's video, we're going to be going over 5 key takeaways from the Chargers preseason, starting off with the cornerback position, and that's going to be the fact of, well, we have no idea who's going to get those two outside cornerback spots, because right now you've got Tarheeb Still and Cam Hart. That's not to say that that's what it's going to be week one, because Benjamin St-Juste has made a case, and so has Dante Jackson. I'd even go as far as saying that Jackson's probably over Cam Hart right now. We'll have to wait and see until the official depth chart comes out. But you got Derwin James, who's going to play in the nickel. Of course, we're going to see a ton of Elijah Molden and a Louis Gilman, which means there's only two outside cornerback spots. And the issue for the Chargers is it's not like this offseason, preseason, and in camp. And that's why it hasn't been the best position, to say the least, for that cornerback spot. I still believe in this group, don't get me wrong. Tarheeb Still, Cam Hart stepped in last season, day 3 rookies, and played well. Of course, safety is about as good as it gets. I like all three of these guys, especially Derwin James. Can Dante Jackson take that leap? I have been saying the past 2 months now that don't be surprised if he's starting week one. He's a really underrated player, and it's looking like he actually is. Even beyond that, Tony Jefferson's made plays in preseason. RJ Mickens looks like he could be a future star. Kendall Williamson's been solid as well. Nico Reed has been huge. The secondary has got a lot of young talent, and it's going to be crucial for the starters to be able to continue to pick it up, because if they don't, they're going to be out of a job. So I'm looking at the offensive line, which is what I want to talk about next. It looked promising before the Rashawn Slater injury, because you had Trey Pipkins as the swing tackle, you had Andre James as the backup center. Of course, going out and getting Mekhi Becton certainly helped that as well, over at that right guard position. But then one injury kind of changed everything, because now your swing tackle off of the bench is starting. You got James. That's about it. Like Ryan Nelson, Branson Taylor, Corey Stewart, they don't have any experience. It's just not looking great. If there's another injury on this line, and there probably will be, hopefully not, but the O-line is always going to be banged up, usually more often than not. It's just not looking pretty for the Chargers. They're hanging by a thread. And we've seen that in training camp, is it hasn't been a unit that stand out. You guys know how I feel about the offensive line. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. If they can just sort of hold up and just be like an average unit, I think we can all take that. Maybe they'll be even better. Yeah, Trey Pipkins, he's looked good at times. I mean, he's not Rashawn Slater, but he could step in here and play some high-level football, and Becton could make the difference. I just don't know if that's going to happen. And it's funny because ESPN has Zion at center and Bradley Bozeman at left guard. That certainly won't be the case. Those guys are going to flip-flop and play where they did last season. So, yeah, that's probably my biggest takeaway. A second biggest takeaway is the offensive line depth just doesn't look great. And I know we've gotten off to 2 slow starts for the Chargers. I promise it's going to get better. Eventually, not this next point. The final 2 points, really, there's actually not a lot of. I'm looking through my notes that when I made this over the weekend. Yeah, there's really not a lot of positives, but hey, man, we've got to talk about it, right? So the third one is going to be the running back position. It's been weeks now, and we just don't know if Najee Harris is going to play week one. I wouldn't be shocked if he misses the first 4 weeks of the season. The Chargers must make a decision on Harris by 1 p.m. Pacific Standard on Tuesday when final cuts are due. If they decide to not utilize him, then he's going to miss the first 4 weeks of the season, which is looking like that's what's going to happen back one. I do know that Greg Roman has said that it's going to be a split backfield, but then who's the second running back behind Hampton? You have to lean towards Hassan Haskins. I don't see it being Kamani Vidal. Certainly Raheem Sanders, who had like 13 carries over the week against the Niners. It's not going to be him. I mean, they wouldn't have given him all that work. So we're looking at Haskins, a guy who I thought was just going to be on the roster for special teams, but he could legitimately step in here and get some serious carries. So that's pretty cool just to see guys get opportunities. I have no clue why Harris, who hasn't practiced all camp, yeah, he's been out there working out, but he hasn't actually practiced. I just don't see it happening. If anybody could get a full workload after not practicing the entire summer, it's probably Najee Harris, but I just don't see a world where that happens. And then Trey Lance, who has distanced himself in the backup quarterback battle over Taylor Heinicke. I wouldn't be shocked if the Chargers end up carrying 3 quarterbacks. We saw that with the Falcons last year. They had Heinicke, Penix, and Kirk Cousins. I do think a trade could be in store here, though. I mean, I think Herbert and Lance is enough, especially with a team like the Chargers and how much depth they have. It just seems like a waste to carry 3 quarterbacks, especially with the new rules. So, yeah, I would 100% honestly be all in favor of just letting Heinicke go, even if they just cut him. I trust Trey Lance as an athlete. He's got a lot of potential. Dealt with injuries early on in his career when he was a top five pick by the Niners. I think Jim Harbaugh is the perfect coach for him, just to have a guy who knows how to develop and work with players and get the most out of them. And Lance has played well. He got the start against the Niners, of course, in the preseason, and it's not like he lit the Niners on fire or anything like that. He was 5 of 8 for 38 yards, but he's just shown that he's been the most consistent quarterback outside of Justin Herbert, obviously, this entire camp. And Heineke was 3 of 5 for 31 yards. Remember, he got injured last game, so didn't really. Yeah, I mean, Heineke, he hasn't been able to really show us a reason to why he would be over Trey Lance. I mean, even last season when he played, it wasn't anything pretty. I know the O line wasn't exactly the greatest in the receivers, but I'd like to see Trey Lance sort of be that backup. And when you have a player with that type of upside behind your starting quarterback, it's also a huge benefit too. Yeah, so that's probably like the only good thing that I have to say about the things that stuck out for these top 5 points. I mean, obviously the Chargers have had a great offseason, and outside of the Slater injury, they've had a great preseason. But there's still a lot of work to do because we're no longer talking about, hey, let's just get to 10 wins here, make the playoffs, right? It's about winning this division, making a deep playoff run, and that's why we're going to be overly critical. And the next point is linebacker Junior Colson. He was a third-round pick in 2024, and not only is he not even going to be one of these top backers, we're talking about him being the linebacker four. Like if he was the third linebacker, second linebacker, but he's the fourth linebacker. Troy Dye is ahead of him. And then certainly Diane Henley and Denzel Perryman are going to be the two starters at outball linebacker. A little bit disappointing. I mean, not everything's always in your control. Colson still has, I think, a future ahead of him. But I thought for certain coming into the camp this offseason, he'd be competing for not even just like to be a backup, but just to be one of the top two guys, like or at least to be the guy next to Diane Henley. So that's a little bit disappointing. Not the end of the world. I think the Chargers are still fine at linebacker. But yeah, just really disappointing for Colson. I was excited about the linebacker run, but I mean, it is what it is. So in terms of the start of the season, 11 days, it's gonna fly by. I mean, this week's gonna go by quick, and then we're gonna be talking about okay, this next week is the week. Friday night, of course, under the lights against the Kansas City Chiefs. It's just a massive game. I mean, what better timing than week one to be able to beat the Chiefs and to be in first place? And then to that point, we're talking about the Chargers, it being their divisional lose because they'd have that tiebreaker, and then they play the Raiders, the Broncos, the Giants, the Commanders, the Dolphins, the Colts. I mean, how many of those teams are going to the playoffs? Like, we know the Broncos are probably more than likely going to go. Washington's going to go. But the rest of these teams are probably teams that finishing under 500 this season that aren't great. Vikings are going to be really good. Titans, Steelers, Jags. This schedule isn't like the first 13 weeks. It's really doable, man. I think the Chargers can get off to a massive start and have a massive lead over the Chiefs. And then obviously weeks 14 through 18 is as hard as it gets. Eagles, Chiefs, Cowboys, Texans, and Broncos, all playoff teams. There's a couple of Super Bowl contenders in there. But this start of the year is so big for the Chargers, and I'm excited to see how they end up responding to it. And when was the last time the Chargers even beat the Chiefs? Like it's hard to look back and think about that too. This has to be the season, man. I mean, Jim Harbaugh, when he was with the Niners, remember he took over a 7-win team. They went to the NFC Championship, and then they went to a Super Bowl. I think he's going to do the same with the Chargers. He took over like a under 500 team that wasn't that great, and then 11 wins, and then now it's time to go. Time to make that playoff run because the Chargers, they've had good teams, they've had talent, but when it matters the most, they've never been able to get it done. Even when they've had those advantages, have those leads, they blew it. But this season, we're hoping that things are different.